And the principle is simple, that the gospel is not the better behavior, the improvement of the behavior, the better version of the behavior of every one of us. Although we can definitely benefit from improving who we are. We try to strive. We try to get things moving in the right direction, in the better direction. So I don't believe the Bible opposes that. But the gospel of Jesus Christ, what it is literally the behavior of Jesus. We call this the indicative. We call this something that took place. It's a historical fact that there was a Jewish man that walked among us, and his lifestyle, his actual worldview, and eventually his sacrifice and his resurrection is the culmination, is the altogether put together as the gospel. That's where salvation is found, because that is exactly what satisfies the demands that the Father established from the very beginning. So we call that the indicative. The indicative produces the imperative is now the behavior. Now is the exercise. As we call this in theological terms, this is the sanctification. This is the understanding that now we reflect, we exercise the life of Jesus. In reality, on chapter number 3, verse 8, that's exactly where we are today. We're speaking of this finally, coming to the end again, of the thinking, of the thought, of the section of this part of the book in 1 Peter. And Peter speaks and says, finally, concluding, after everything that we have talked for the last few weeks, we're coming to the conclusion that this is all of you. In other words, he's helping us to understand that if we were to move the church, the family, society, if we're in the year of election and we're trying to make the right choices, whether it's at a personal level, whether it's a family level, maybe as a governmental level, you need to understand that this is a communal experience. This is why Peter is bringing is forwarding this message to all of us. Now, the interesting thing about this mandate that he's given us, or this understanding, this teaching that he's given us, is based on a forensic agent. It is somebody else's worldview given to us. This is why I'm using the language of the indicative. In other words, when he uses the language all of you, he's not saying all of you that have learned, all of you that have persevered, all of you that have, hit rock bottom and now you're coming back on a better version of yourself. This is literally somebody else's experience, somebody else's worldview, somebody else's understanding, which is Jesus. That's the indicative given to us. One of the distinctiveness of following Jesus, I'm going to say this again, is not the overpromise that things are going to just magically improve. What Jesus has done and will do for those who follow Jesus and embrace the indicative, what he has done, is that he gives us the ability to see and understand that the purpose of salvation, the purpose of the struggles and trials and difficulties that these churches were going through, these Christians were going to 2,000 years ago, and the reason why we go through the things that we go through as followers of Jesus is to grow and develop Christ likeness, is to walk, to think, to feel, to do life in a manner that reflects this forensic agent, which is Jesus Christ. Now, part of that is understanding that nobody grows in Christ's likeness unless you do it in community. Need to be faced with preeminence 2,000 years ago, because the opposite of community is, again, individualism. The opposite of community is simply thinking that, this is my life, this is my deal, I'm not hurting anybody, or what I'm trying to do, what I'm doing. But then eventually, instead of thinking of a forensic agent, now we're thinking that this is just me understanding, me getting my Bible reading, me going to whatever I'm going through. See, this is not about us. This is not about how I think and what I want. It's somebody else's understanding, somebody else's worldview, somebody else's salvation imputed, given, accredited to us. So in this sense of community, this is where Peter invites us to think and said, I want you to do this now. I want you to be like-minded, because apparently 2,000 years ago, the divisiveness of this thinking, the divisiveness of this mindset was not necessarily just the diversity, the racial tension that was among people 2,000 years ago. The issue was the absence of the forensic agent. So now that Jesus is present, now that you call yourself a Christian, one of the beautiful things about like-mindedness is the reality that we do not have to continue to perpetuate uniformity. Meaning, this is uniformity, that I only relate to people that think like me. I only relate to people that look like me. I only relate to people that actually feel like me. Now, unity is the celebration of our diversity. See, unity, when you have a forensic agent as the object of who you are, not just what you do, but who you are, that's the indicative. The indicative given to you, what it does, it allows you to celebrate the uniqueness of other people. It allows you to understand that when we come together and we are like-minded, it's because our unity is not simply among ourselves. Our unity is first with Jesus. And then as we relate to Jesus, then we relate to one another. Otherwise, here's the risk. Otherwise is then when we try to just come together, when we just try to come in and bring down or maybe dissipate our racial differences, our racial tension, without Jesus, what we're going to typically do is we're going to try our best, we're typically going to fail, and then we're going to ask God to bless our projects, our desires to be a united nation, to be a united family, to be a united generation. See, again, God is no cosmic butler. He did not die. He did not send Jesus. Jesus didn't die just to bless an agenda, to bless a worldview, to bless an understanding. He came to literally transform and impute, to give his worldview. So I'm going to say this one more time. The tension that we're feeling today, my understanding from reading Peter and understanding of what's going on today is that we are driven by uniformity, not by the unity of Jesus Christ.